Well, I don't think I want the B for sure. Between the
The A works. This is the G.
Oh man, it's just one note. Play an A sometimes. Play an A the first time, G the second time.
A lot of help.
Go with the G. My
Play it
gut
safe.
Yeah, let's go with the G. That's the safe.
Okay. So if we call that a harmony, and we get into the second part, the C part, and we don't have to mess with it, do we? Just no harmony there. So
there's enough of a contrast with that minor in there.
Shall I record it or should you?
The spectacular beauty of the Oregon coast is an awesome sight. Visitors from all around the world come each year to experience the Pacific Ocean front and visit its 9 historic lighthouses. Featured in this program, starting from the North Coast and moving south, is the Oregon Coast Lighthouse Collection. The Tillamook Rock Lighthouse is located approximately 1 mile offshore and can be seen from both Seaside and Cannon Beach, with Ecola State Park providing this view. Built in 1880, this lighthouse is nicknamed Terrible Tilly because of the horrendous conditions brought on by storms and the crashing sea against it during both its construction and service as an active lighthouse. Before construction could begin, it was necessary to level off a portion of the bulging rock on which it now sits. This was done by workers placing giant cartridges of blasting powder in their rock fissures. They would then light the fuses and take cover the best they could before the explosion. Winter storms made life difficult for the lightkeepers. Large rocks thrown up by waves would knock holes in the roof and break the lantern's glass panels. The cost of repairs and maintenance to the structure was enormous, and in 1957, the Coast Guard ceased operation of the lighthouse. In 1980, a company from Portland purchased the property for $50,000 with plans of turning it into the world's first lighthouse columbarium. The interior has been completely redesigned to hold urns of human ashes, and the Portland company, Eternity at Sea, has entered the lighthouse on the National Register of Historic Sites. The Cape Mears Lighthouse is a short tower standing just 38 feet above the ground and is found 10 miles west of Tillamook. Construction on the lighthouse began in the spring of 1889, and on January 1st, 1890, the lighthouse was put into operation. The tower's octagonal walls are made of sheet iron, and the inside walls are lined with bricks which were made and kilned at the construction site. This lighthouse is one of the first on the Oregon coast to become automated. On a ledge just above the tower, a small concrete building holding a modern optic was constructed. This new system operates 24 hours a day, unattended. In April of 1963, the Cape Meares Lighthouse was decommissioned, and the Coast Guard had decided to tear down the structure. Local citizens band together to save the lighthouse and succeeded in getting the property leased to Tillamook County in 1964. Later, the county turned the lease over to Oregon State Parks, and now the station is the main attraction for an endless number of tourists who visit the lighthouse each year at Cape Meares State Park. One of Oregon's finest towering lights is the Yaquina Head Lighthouse. Located just 3 miles north of Newport, the conical tower stands 93 feet above ground, making it Oregon's tallest lighthouse. During the construction, which began in the fall of 1871, builders were forced to work in treacherous winter storm conditions. 2 boats carrying building materials to the site were lost in rough seas. During the spring of 1872, the lantern and lens arrived and more than 370,000 bricks were brought in from San Francisco to be used in the construction of the tower. Eventually, the lighthouse began to take shape. On August 20, 1873, the lighthouse's lamp was lit for the first time. During the early 30s, with the addition of electricity at the facility, the light was changed from the fixed glow that the original oil lantern provided to a more modern flashing signal. Since 1966, the Coast Guard has operated Yaquina Head Lighthouse automatically. The light source now is provided by a 1,000-watt quartz iodine electric bulb, which produces approximately 131,000 candle power and is visible 19 miles away in clear weather. The Yaquina Bay Lighthouse has the unique history of having the shortest period of service of Oregon's lighthouses. Located at Yaquina Bay State Park in Newport, its whale oil lamp burned for only 3 years to assist coastal navigation. This occurred from November 3, 1871 until October 1, 1874. With the construction of the Yaquina Head Lighthouse just 3 miles to the north in 1873, it was decided that the service provided by Yaquina Bay's light was unnecessary. The newer light to the north was stronger and could be seen farther away. For years, the lighthouse was left abandoned, and deterioration of the structure brought it down to a level of an unsafe hazard. Stories about the lighthouse being haunted began to spread, and to this day it is often referred to as the Haunted Lighthouse. In 1946, the State Highway Commission decided to demolish the structure, but the people of Newport were determined to save it. The Lincoln County Historical Society was formed in 1948 with the purpose of working to save the lighthouse. In desperation, the society began raising money to make the old structure safe again. Tax money was sought for the project, but rejected 5 times. The state was about to go through with the demolition when another extension was granted. Thanks to L.E. Warford, who began a drive to get national attention for the lighthouse, it gained recognition for its part of Oregon's history. Through his efforts, the state decided not to destroy the neglected structure. This enabled the Historical Society to push on with their efforts to restore the Yaquina Bay Lighthouse. For the next 18 years, the building was under lease to the Society and used as a county museum. In the early 1970s, the State Parks Department determined that the lighthouse could be restored under the Historical Preservation Program. Complete restoration of the structure began in 1974, and today, many visitors from all over the world come to enjoy the beautiful lighthouse and park each year. Known as the most photographed lighthouse on the Oregon coast, Heceta Head is found just 10 miles north of Florence. This 56-foot beacon was named for Portuguese explorer Don Bruno de Heceta, who in the service of Spain set out to explore the northwest coast in 1775. The correct Spanish pronunciation is Heceta, but today many claim that Hecata is the proper way of referring to the lighthouse. In 1888, a bill was introduced to provide $80,000 for the purchase of land and to construct a lighthouse at Heceta Head. By February of the following year, the bill was approved by the Lighthouse Board and passed the Senate. initial work began in 1892, and by August of 1893, the lighthouse was completed except for the first-order Fresnel lens and clockwork turning mechanism. These components were valued at more than $12,000. Unlike most of the lighting equipment installed in Oregon's lighthouses, which were from French makers in Paris, these lighting components came from a British manufacturer. The Hesida head lens consists of 8 panels and a total of 640 prisms, each being 2 inches thick. After more than 4 decades, when electricity came to the station, the oil lamp was replaced by a 500-watt light bulb, which increased the intensity to more than 1 million candle power. Today, the lighthouse provides an automated flashing light of about 2.5 million candle power and can be seen 21 miles out to sea. The Umpqua River Lighthouse is located approximately 6 miles south of Reedsport at the Umpqua State Park. Built in 1894, its flashing white and red beam reaches 19 miles out to sea. The incandescent oil vapor lamp was lit for the first time on December 31, 1894, creating a beam that flashed white twice, then red once every 15 seconds. This lighthouse was a favorite among lighthouse keepers, and for 89 years it faithfully served to assist coastal navigation. In 1983, the mechanism which supported the heavy lens and guided its turning failed. During this time, the Coast Guard installed a temporary rotating light on the tower, but later planned to permanently replace the original lens with this new fixture. Local residents protested this change, and eventually the Coast Guard gave in to their wishes. The mechanism to operate the original lens was rebuilt, and in January of 1985, the lighthouse was once again operating as originally designed. A weekend celebration was held for the Umpqua River Lighthouse in August of 1994 to honor its 100th birthday and pass ownership from the U.S. Coast Guard to Douglas County. Clinton Woodward, the last lighthouse keeper at the facility, was guest speaker at the opening ceremony. He was stationed at the Umpqua River Lighthouse in 1938. Built in 1934, the Cape Arago Lighthouse is the third lighthouse to occupy this small island just south of the entrance to Coos Bay. The first lighthouse was erected in 1866 on the westernmost tip of the island. This proved to be an unfit location for the lighthouse because of the tremendous damage brought on by the storms that hammered it. Eventually, it was decided to abandon this weathered structure and build a new one on a more suitable area of the island. The second lighthouse was built in 1909 and featured a new 5-panel lens from Paris, France. Continuing erosion of the island over time made it necessary for a third lighthouse to be constructed. This would be one of the last structures built under the U.S. Lighthouse Service on the Pacific Coast. The new and current lighthouse went up between 1933 and 1934. The lens from the previous tower was installed, but its lighting fixture was changed from the old-fashioned oil lamp to a modern electric source. The light station was automated in 1966, and the Coast Guard now monitors the lighthouse by remote electronic surveillance. The Coquille River Lighthouse is found just north of Bandon at the mouth of the Coquille River. Built in 1896 and abandoned by the Coast Guard in 1939, this structure is unique among all other West Coast lighthouses with its almost round-shaped building and attached tower. The original light that could be seen 12¼ miles away and fog signal housed in the main floor are now gone. During the celebration of Bandon's centennial in 1991, a new solar-powered light was installed in the tower that shines from dusk to sunrise as a reminder of the Coquille River Lighthouse's historical past. With the development of Bullard's Beach State Park, where the lighthouse is located, plans were made to begin restoration of the Coquille River Lighthouse. The Oregon State Parks and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers shared in the cost of the project. In 1979, the work was completed and the lighthouse reopened to visitors. Each year, during the holiday season, the lighthouse is decorated with Christmas lights by the citizens of Bandon. Found on the most westerly point of Oregon's coastline is the Cape Blanco Lighthouse. Built in 1870, it stands proudly as Oregon's oldest lighthouse and continues to operate today. The Coast Guard closely monitors the Cape Blanco Light from its headquarters in Coos Bay. Located just north of Port Orford, this 59-foot tower is subjected to some of the worst weather, including thick fog, high winds, and heavy rain. When the first shipment arrived with building materials for the lighthouse in May of 1870, a storm caused the ship to wreck onto the beach, destroying it and its cargo. 2 months later, another shipment arrived, and by the end of the year, the lighthouse was completed. The Cape Blanco lens is rotated by a small 120-volt, 75 RPM electric motor and gear assembly. The lens was manufactured in Paris, France. It features 8 panels, measures 5 feet in diameter and 7 feet in height. In 1992, vandals broke into the lighthouse and damaged 6 of the lens's prisms and knocked out one of the 8 center bullseyes. The 2 teens were later caught and convicted of their crime. Thanks to a firm in Bandon that was able to restore the lens to its original condition, we can once again enjoy the brilliance of the Cape Blanco Lighthouse.